two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am your host, David Stregi, and today I am going on with YouTube stop animation director Kyle Kleinhesselink, correct?
Yep.
And why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are and how you got involved in your projects that you have gotten involved with.
So, well, to kind of put it like as a kind of like a brief sort of thing, I would say it kind of all just started on just the infatuation of when I was a kid to like the motion of movies and like really getting into like the in-depth stuff of how this was made and how it could be entertaining. Like I really just infatuated to that aspect. I feel like with all kind of movies, you have that sort of aspect. Just like, oh my god, this is insane! Like, how do they do this? And so I started like doing my own stuff when I heard about YouTube a long time ago. Well, now it would be a long time ago. It's been like over 10 years now.
Okay.
But yeah, like they basically started making like my own little stuff and like try to really get out there, read some stories, try to like get out there and see if there's anyone that would actually find my stuff entertaining.
Okay. Well, let's go into like maybe your first project that you might first couple of projects that you actually may have achieved. What were some of those early beginning projects?
So as far as the ones that I had listed, like do you mean just like first like projects in general, or you mean like first projects that I'm like proud of?
I always start with the latter that you spoke of. The first projects we can skim through some of the ones that you started with per se, and then we'll go into some of the projects that you're proud of. And then I figured we'll give the audience a taste of one of your successes. So, why don't what was your first project in general?
So like that is a little bit confusing question just because like I've done multiple different projects with like at first when I was first starting out my career, but as far as like clear indication of like just any project I ever done was stuff that I don't have it public anymore, but like just old like videos I did as a kid on YouTube. It was basically just like some videos, and some of the ones that I do I am at least like I think I do have some public, but like I would say there's a lot of like Plush videos, like that sort of stuff is like it was kind of like my first like actual project.
Okay.
Like any formal project like on YouTube, there's like probably tons of videos that I've done and just been random videos.
Okay. So from what I've seen of your plush videos, it's basically having plush toys and doing skits with them, correct?
Yeah, basically.
And have you ever crossed any stop motion animation with any of your plush projects?
You mean
That
like you mean like crossing over the mediums?
Yeah.
So like the plush stuff and the stop motion stuff were completely at different times. So like they weren't ever crossed over with each other. But like the only thing that really crossed over at all is just the way that I told a story. Like there's pretty much all that really compares to both of them.
Okay. Just figured I'd. I mean, it's all an evolutionary process, so I figured I'd kind of ask you about some of them. Now, you've been part of some plays, correct, all the way back to elementary.
Yeah.
Does now Land Made Green, Abe's Barrel? What are some of these projects?
So like Land Made Green was just basically a student play. It wasn't that big compared to like normal stuff. It was kind of just like, hey, let's do this as a project because I know the teacher was just like, hey, you know what? Let's see if you kids can act.
Okay.
So basically, it was just a brief play that was about making the environment green, and basically just I was one of the main characters, even though I was like back then I was never such actor as I could be now. So I it,
Okay.
it
And
was a start, but
when you were in middle school, apparently Abe Sparrow.
yeah, that was a short one as well. But like, because through elementary and middle school, I didn't have many plays. Like, there wasn't like a theater program at all. So like, we only just had these for like main curricular program stuff. But Abe's Barrel was basically just very basic. I only had like a few lines in it. It was a school taught thing, so it wasn't that big, but it was something.
Okay. And then going on to high school, you were part of Fiddler on the Roof as a musical, and I guess Teddy Christmas. How were
Yeah,
those experiences for you?
those ones were the craziest experiences I've ever had with any sort of theater. They were really on the top and very direct. And so I have to say, like my personal favorite actually is more Fiddler on the Roof, just because I got to be more roles than just the one role that seems kind of weird for the other one. But Fiddler on the Roof, I was casted for four different characters at four different times because I was like what you uh I think my teacher at the time told me that like I was basically the rough face of the project, basically saying like you can be multiple characters and no one noticed. Like it's just like you're kind of just there. So like he cast me for like four different roles, two named roles, and then the other two were just stage roles of like holding up stuff and just basically being the background character.
Okay. And Teddy Christmas.
The Teddy Christmas was as the name implies, a Christmas story that I had to be one of the toys for, which was a spinning top. It's basically a talking spinning top, and yeah, I only had like a few lines, but I was, I think I got a lot of laughs because of the costume I had. It was very extraneous and like, I actually almost I have a little story actually for one of them. One of the performances we did two of them for this one. Fiddle on the Roof, we had like eight, but the Teddy Christmas one we had two. The second one, when I had to do a spin, I tripped on one of the props on the ground, and like I fell right off stage, but it looked perfect because I fell right into the right past the curtain, so they couldn't see me. But I like my head just fell right into a box when I tripped, and so no one noticed. Everyone kept going with the play, but some people in the stage group, like they were just on the curtains, like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" Because it was a heavy box. So I was
I as well have gone through some theatrical experience when I was in what is it high school and a little bit afterwards. It was really hard to get into stage because our particular teacher she liked favorites. So a lot of people didn't get cast for shit, especially if you didn't. So I was very lucky to have like a music teacher who was like vying for me to get experience or whatnot. And so I guess I was cast in a production of Into the Woods, and I was like the Princess Steward. I ended up dancing like with Red Riding Hood. I had to wear tights. I had to wear stage makeup, the whole 9 yards. So it was a
oh
whole
wow.
new experience for me. And then I was also in show choir at the time, which was like song and dance for competitions and shit.
Mm.
So, and then after, I think I was in something called like the Fifth Hour. It was like some kind of like student thing. Um, one of the favorites of the class actually reached out to me and wanted me to. We just did some kind of like Fifth Hour like student class thing for like a nursing home or something like that. But we had like like a week to actually get involved in it or whatnot. And then after that, I was in a production of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I ended up being a drunk. One of the town's folk. We didn't do the full barn scene or anything like that, but it was what it was. So, but that is the extent of my theatrical stuff before I started. Like within the last 5 years, being a producer of my own stuff. So, but let us take a look at one of your projects here, so that we can show what some of what you've been able to accomplish. Now, this is called The Ghost of the Bat. So we're going to watch this here, ladies and gentlemen, and show you. I like this black and white.
Yeah, this is supposed to be an homage sort of thing.
It's like you're switching up between old and like Tim Burton Batman music.
Yeah, basically all the Batmans.
Now, did you direct this particular segment?
Oh yeah, like all the action stuff is like originally from me. Like I didn't really but the only thing copied was like this scene right here.
For me, it's destiny to be the maestro of villainy.
Alrighty. So, how did you how did you get involved with like more larger scale models of this? Did you end up like combining with a friend or so to start doing some of this stop animation work?
You mean like the backgrounds and the buildings and all that?
Yeah.
So those were all original designs. Like I pretty much like other than the future projects I'm doing for Lego Stop Motion, these are all original designs that I did. Just like kind of just like rough scratch models just to place in the background.
Okay. So you've done some work with with your own stories of Star Wars. Why don't you tell me about a few of those?
So as far as just like the main Star Wars ones that have been released, the only one that's been released nowadays is like Clone Revolution, which I'm known for pretty much in the community. But
Okay.
basically, it's just if you know anything about Star Wars, it's about the time period between Episode 3, after Episode 3 and 4, where the surviving clones who took out the inhibitor chip that controlled them to kill the Jedi, basically they survive this long and they try to make a clone rebellion against the Empire and try to like stop what they're doing. But basically, it just goes through a bunch of like I guess you can call it fan service, just because it adds in a bunch of old clones, canon and legends, and I think people just really like seeing like the combination of clones in it.
Okay. And I was actually watching a couple of them, and from what I understand, uh, it seemed like you ended up using some stock footage of like maybe like if you were to do like virtual gaming, like in a Star Wars episode or whatnot, but then mitigating or placing in the Lego and where the people would be or something like that to have somewhat of a background at times, and it seems to play really well because it's kind of like us, like if we decided to make a movie of like King Kong and using stock footage of like a Godzilla film, So, um, how do you end up going and like editing that in? Is that difficult or versa? I mean, I saw it, but it's kind of hard to believe it.
So
Go ahead.
so which scene are you talking about in that regard?
Well, I was watching what was it, Steve the
Yes.
and there was some I know footage that I can't place which game it's from or whatnot, but it looks like you use stock footage of like one-on-one like streaming, and then place the Lego man inside it, and you used some like destruction footage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so funny enough with that project, I don't have any control over that one. I'm only just a voice in it, really.
Okay.
Clone Revolution is where I kind of delve into, but no, like that's from I don't know his real name, but his username is Cool Guy 9201.
Okay.
He does that stuff, but I've only voiced like a few characters like Kiani Mundi and like just kind of like stock characters in a way, but as far as that goes, I don't have much other control with that.
Okay. And how many projects did you work with Cool Guy 6?
So well, technically, I've worked with him on 3 episodes of Steve the Clone Trooper. One of
Okay.
them was actually a controversy because what ended up happening was he introduced the Siege of Mandalore arc, and I'm all like, "Oh, this is cool," because I watch a series, so I'm like, "Okay, this is cool." And I see one of my shots in his footage. I'm like, "Wait a minute, is that my shot?" And I scan through the video. I'm like, "Wait a minute, is that that's my footage?" And he used the Ahsoka part and the Ahsoka Troopers like clips from my videos. When I did Siege of Mandalore, I'm like, "Why is it? He didn't even credit me." He's like stole my content. I'm like, no. And then so like on his Discord, I'm like, dude, why'd you rip on my content? And he's all like, oh, sorry, man. I was just trying to do it really quick, and I'll credit you in the next episode. And I was like, okay, fine. But,
Alrighty. Well, ultimately, you got into your own Star Wars stuff. Now, when did you ultimately start to work with different voice actors? on some of your projects?
Okay, so like as far as just different voices, like just a wide range of cast members and everything, that started with Clone Revolution when when I first did all pretty much all the voices for Clone Revolution because I sort of had a good clone voice, like a decent, not good but decent. So I pretty much did the voices for that series until I wanted to remake it, and so I tried to find many people. I went through multiple people, like on YouTube and casting call and everything, just to see who could do a clone voice. And funny enough, the story behind like how I found the guy who does the voices for the clones, I just found him on a whim when in my recommended on YouTube it said D. Bradley Baker voice impression, and I was all like, "Oh, Mike, want to check this out?" So I checked out the video, and he has an impeccable voice for the characters. So I'm all like, "Oh, maybe I'll message him and see if he wants to voice my projects." And he was so on board, and to this day, like we've been working together since 2017, and he says like I'm one of his top clients. Like, so it's been a pretty crazy ride, but it's been enjoyable for sure.
Okay, let's talk about some of your video projects that you've done. And this is like stuff that's not plush or stop motion or anything like that. Noel for President, The Death of Julius Caesar, Demons of Our Darkness, Life of Annabelle Lee. Let's talk about some of those. What are some of these?
So they are all as far as the ones you just set off. Those are all like high school video projects that, and so I was the only kid at the high school that knew how to do video editing at all. So I was kind of been like selected for everything like that. Everyone
Okay.
outside of my class would go to me and be all like, "Hey, can you film this? Can you edit this?"
Well, and to be all honesty, if you're the video editor, you're like the unsigned hero of the project. You're like technically you're like the director because you direct the video where to go, even though you're not the director. You know, there's always someone directing the film, but when you're editing it, you are kind of like the steerage of it all. So ultimately, we're so far as I can tell, Demons of Darkness is actually one of your best that I could actually saw of your film projects. So why don't you tell me about that one?
Okay, so that was one of the ones that some of my best friends asked me to record for them and do the editing and whatnot. And so they asked me, "Is like, hey, can you do this video for us?" Because like, and they were the not the stars, but the two demons in the video. Those are both my best friends, and then the girl was their friend that was helping them in the video. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And so we were recording it, and they told me that like, if there's any ideas you want to add that make it more like artistic or conceptual, or you think we can get an A on, add it. I'm like, okay. So all the creative like film noir stuff kind of came into my head, trying to like think like, okay, how do I make this like kind of like a film noir sort of like a short film, like really good project. So they went in like basically added in scenes that they didn't even think about, like the paper roll scene, like that was all my idea. And like I directed the main character pretty much, and so I did all the editing. And by the way, the black eyes stuff, you remember that shot?
Mm-hmm.
That was basically 8 hours of Photoshop. These After Effects.
So you were really invested in that project for a little bit.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so your personal Star Wars projects were Clone Revolution, Lies of a Jedi, and the Ultimate Edition of The Revenge of the Sith. Tell us a little bit more about these projects.
So Clone Revolution, as I've said before, is just basically the clone troopers that survived try to make a clone rebellion against the Empire. But Lies of a Jedi is actually just a storyline between the same time period, but basically just where these surviving apprentices in Padawan survive Order 66 and try to build a new order where both sides of the Sith, the dark and the light, can rule over the galaxy in this sort of like peace mentality. But there's a lot of development so far as just the characters themselves, but there has been an underlining story in it. There's no like big animation yet, but only because it's a collaboration series that I'm doing with a cool guy, and basically because his characters Steve and Bob are in Lies of a Jedi, but right now I'm trying to rework it because he hasn't been messaging me at all about. I'm trying to like get his opinion on this and like nothing.
That's okay. Sometimes projects lie in limbo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ultimately, Lee, now some of the various projects that you're working on now are well, one of them was like a stuff review, which apparently you tried to do a review with skits.
Yeah, yeah, really tried.
Your plush videos, which I guess have been in various stages over time. But how many plush videos have you actually done?
Last I remembered, it was, I believe, roughly like 30 or 40, but you could count like 4 of them as one big movie because I did one big like Christmas special, but it was 4 videos because it was like 40 minutes.
But technically, you can break it up into several webisodes. So,
Yeah.
but okay. And did you end up using friends for voices or like that in any of these plush videos?
Yeah, so also a key difference for what I was explaining earlier as well with like how I said that my first voice acting project was with Clone Revolution, but that was like my first professional one.
Okay.
Like that. The plush video I did with other people, but it was not professional at all. It was basically just, hey friends, do you want to record a video?
Okay, bring all your plush animals over, and we'll just create a story. And you got to create the dialogue. Okay, rotate.
The ironic part was actually I had all the plushes. Actually, it was never my friends. They were just there basically like, voicing them. It was kind of awkward, but
Hey, whatever works.
yeah.
So, what? So you're working on a project called "The Ghost of the Bat," and that is basically the trailer that we saw of Batman, and you've taken a bit of a relief from the Star Wars stuff to work on this, correct?
Yes.
And how many episodes do you plan on making out of this?
So I plan to at least make one season, which typically is 10 episodes, at least in normal stakes on YouTube.
Okay.
I just plan to make one season and to see what people think of it first, because I enjoy the storyline. I've only written 2 episodes for it so far, and it's just because I've been working on the other projects I've been doing. And so
some Japanese animated series, sometimes they go from like 12 minutes to 15 minutes to 23 minutes. So it all depends on how long you want them to be too. So how long do you how long do you plan on making each of these episodes ultimately in the end, runtime at least?
So I always try to shoot for like 10 to 15 minutes. Like sometimes they could be 8 minutes depending on the length of the animation. But I really am trying to really go for like 10 to 15 minutes per episode.
Okay. And how far along are you on creating this episodal fandom, if fan film franchise, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so this project is very much like it's in development, but right now there's only like 2 episodes scripted, like I said. But right now I do have the voice cast for most of it, but as far as the animation goes, it hasn't had that much just because of the other projects I've been working on as well. Like there's so many.
So another project that apparently you're working on is called All in Black. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, so this was basically spawning off of my my obsession with Men in Black, the movies and the TV show. And what I wanted to do was, so I like the original 3 movies, and then the 4th one, well, the international one happened. I'm all like, what happened? Like, this was so good, and then they just changed it up. I'm like, it's not even the fact they changed the actors, but it's the fact that it's like it didn't have a good storyline to me. Like, it was very bland, very stereotypical Hollywood. I'm like, what if I made a series where I do follow Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith's character, but also other agents, and basically saying All in Black is like all the agents' storylines, basically written better in a way.
Okay.
Basically, just
Now,
exploring adventures with them.
are you going to be doing stop motion animation with this?
Yes, I do plan to do stop motion for these, just because like one, I've already ordered like so many black suit figures. I actually have I actually have a figure right here that represents some of them. But basically, I wanted to do the Men in Black series, but also another project that was the Matrix recreation scene. And
Okay.
for that to happen, I needed to have ordered like 100 torsos of like suit designs and everything. Which I actually do have one of the Agent Smith figures right here. You see the
Oh, okay.
So this is the
So-
same. That's the same design. The suit that I'm going to use for the Men in Black ones. I'm like, oh, might as well just make it stop motion.
Okay, so you actually like a lot of the Lego movies that they put out, like with like Lego versus Batman and or Lego Batman the movie and all that jazz. Have you ever followed any of that franchise?
Yeah, I think the Lego movies are alright. Like the Lego Movie, Lego Movie 2, Lego Batman. Those are probably my favorites out of the bunch. But I did not watch the Ninjago one. I wasn't really interested in Ninjago, so I was like, I'll just skip it.
Well, sometimes you can get some kind of inspiration by some of those larger budgeted uh, films, as since you are I would put you in like the fan film director kind, at least the genre of fan film ventures, so to speak. So, how many projects have you done in the Men in Black genre so far?
So All in Black is pretty much my only series as far as Men in Black goes. But like
Okay.
episode wise, I'm still trying to develop like the A and B plot sort of range for the episodes. So like I've written a few episodes for it, but it's still kind of in the editing process to make sure that the characters correctly and like making sure I'm not like dragging out anything. So it's kind of like monitoring it right now.
Okay. Now, these are some of the projects that you told me are in limbo, which I guess you can tell me what you want to say about these projects. Avengers: Future Entails.
Yes, so that one, that one was actually it's a strange thing, but like it all started because of one of my friends on Discord. He's all like, "Have you ever tried to do anything with Marvel?" I'm all like, "No, I haven't, but I've had a story in mind, or like which is Avengers: Future Entails, which I'm all like, it was a story where it was when Infinity War came out, when Thanos basically like snapped half the world or whatever, and so I was like, what would have happened if Thanos actually like snapped like the majority of everyone on the planet, and basically like all the Avengers are like like really rough and scratched up, like Tony Stark is like this shallow of a man that he was, and just lives in his mansion or whatever. Hulk is like this monstrous beast that doesn't even know who Banner is anymore. Captain America, the only one that really can reason with everyone. Like he's kind of still the same because he was in a coma at the beginning of the story. But like a lot of the heroes are dead, and like it's like a really dark universe where it kind of like they're trying to survive in this apocalyptic universe.
Okay. And Leatherface, the story of fathers and sons.
Yes, so that one was actually one of my first stories I ever did. That was like actually like inspiring concept to me. But like it's basically that's just not, it's not a working title. I'm gonna probably change Leatherface to something else, but at first it was gonna be a full story about Leatherface because he didn't really have much of a story.
Okay.
But the main story about this whole thing is all the big horror slashers basically like settle down and have children, and basically Freddy's the only one that like chooses still to kill, even though he has a kid, and basically like it neglects his kid because of it. and eventually kills Leatherface, which makes Leatherface's son try to go after Freddy. And basically from there, it kind of just leads on to like meeting the other children that are now adults in that point of the horror slashers to defeat Freddy.
Okay. And Lyrical Fire and Matrix Agent Smith versus Neo creation.
Yes. So Lyrical Fire is my step into the rap battle community, like Epic Rap has history stuff and ERBP and all that. If you've ever heard of them,
Okay.
basically I do body acting roles and I do my own battles. I haven't posted any yet, but I have had a few in mind, which I'm still trying to write for. But as far as that goes, I'm only developing it. I'm only just supposed to be really a body actor for people because in the rap out community, there's not a lot of heavier set people. So I'm all like, oh, this is perfect. I can be heavier set actors and all that basically for people.
Okay. Well, I think the only one that I can, two that I can think of that actually do any kind of rap is Massive Man. And what is it? Oh, not Shaggy Too Dope, but the other one from Insane Clown Posse. But let's see. So Matrix Agent Smith versus Neo creation. So obviously, with the Men in Black, interests, you're going to be interested in the Matrix. Now, was this your first project into the Matrix universe?
Yeah, so as far as that's going to be probably my only project with Matrix, but it's only because no one has ever created the perfect recreation of that scene in Lego ever. Like it's always been like either it's rough animation or they use the yellow skinned figures or they use like non-exact torso designs or anything. I just wanted to recreate it for that reason. But what's funnier about it was I was talking to one of my friends about this project and they're all like, so you just want to make a recreation, you don't want to do anything else? Like, yeah, I think I'm good, like just doing the recreation. But they mentioned to me, dude, you have this capability to add in like jokes and skits now because you have all this design stuff. I'm like, that's a smart idea. So I was starting to think about like other properties to add in to make it more comedic. And like I was thinking of adding in what was it, Terminator, as like one of the little bloopit things. Doc Brown, Back to the Future stuff, and Bill and Ted because Keanu Reeves. But like all this skit stuff, I'm gonna leave that to after I do the recreation. But I wanted to make it that way because I have all these models now, and like I can totally do it. It's all just for comedy though. It's not for any like big stuff. It's only just to make people laugh.
Totally understand. Now, one of your oldest films that you told me about was Night of the Living Dummy, a fan film adaptation. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yes, so this one was so, oh my god. I tried to look for it on my laptop, but I can't find it anywhere. We have it on a disc somewhere, but it was basically my attempt at my first ever film ever. And it was ultimately, I would say, very cringy, very just rough and tough because I was in the third grade when I made this. And it was just like I had a written script for it and I wrote a lot of it. Like it was like 20 pages like of just a script. But a lot of it, so I was a kid, so I didn't have a lot of creativity when it came to like originality. So a lot of it was just the stuff I remembered from Goosebumps. But I had a bunch of my classmates in it, and like we kind of just had a fun time with it. We didn't really care about like the full on direction of it, but like it was very amateurish. We all had kind of the scripts on hand or whatnot, but it was definitely like the first step into the film world for me. So there's that.
Okay. Now, now I'm going to bring the audience to one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show because ultimately all of this stop motion animation has led you to a bigger project in mind, and it all started with a sequel to a cult film of the puppet world, which is Peter Jackson's I want to say that one of my friends who just so happened to be a manager that I work for called if you wanted to take the Muppets and put them on mushrooms and crack. That's what you would basically call this. And it was called Meet the Feebles.
Mhm.
And you started a novelization of how many chapters is it?
Up to 39.
39 chapter sequel, which though you haven't gotten permission or anything like that, it's basically a fan novel. And you started a script for it, and you ended up going out for well, on a casting site, and ended up coming up with a lot of roles for it. And now, did you have any of the I know you showed me a little bit, a bit of some of the puppet stuff that you have ready for the project. Do you have any of that stuff on hand that you could show us?
Yes, I do. Let me grab it real quick. I actually have it in this bin back here.
Yeah, well, Kyle came to us while we were discussing Meet the People on Inside Movies Galore. If you haven't checked out that movie discussion, go ahead and check it out. I mean, all of a sudden, Kyle noticed us, and we were like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then he started telling me about this, so I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so I have all the figures here that were worked on, but unfortunately, I will tell you this: even though these I still will probably use these for something, but like I'm moving this project to the VR animation stuff, just so it's easier to do. Because with stop motion, with these figures and creating them like in this time of the world, it's so I can't do a lot of like the creating. Because I work with someone on these, so it's like she's deteriorating a little bit and she's a little yellowed, but
Hey,
yeah.
she still definitely looks pretty much like Heidi. She just may not exactly be as heavy or set.
Yeah, that we were planning on the design process was going to be like stuffing her dresses and everything, just so then like it's easier to move everything. But so that's with Heidi. Who else do I have in here? Oh, I have a. Oh no, the moose just the moose broken here. I have Robert in here as well.
Okay.
I also have his son.
So you've been working on this a little bit.
Yeah. But no, I think probably the most impressive one other than Heidi was probably Sydney's design, though, which I have in here. Sydney's design was crazy to do because of the coloring, but there we go. This is like I'd say one of the more professional looking ones.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, it's impressive to see some of this behind the scenes stuff. So, how long do you end up wanting to make this animation feature? Will this be like your longest feature to date?
So since this is going to be like a series, it'll be episodic and won't be like film related, like as far as the timing goes. But
Okay.
I do think it's going to be my longest to date because it's going to expand longer than 39 chapters for sure. It's going to probably go to 60, I imagine, but it's definitely going to be like each chapter is going to probably be its own episode unless the episode's too short, then I'll probably like collide it. But other than that, it'll probably be pretty long.
Okay. And how many people have you gone and cast for this animated feature?
So
And what is it going to be eventually called? Is it going to be called the same thing as the novel?
So as far as the title, I think it's going to be just pretty much the same. Like I don't think I'm gonna get copyrighted for really it, unless like who do you think Peter Jackson would go to? Like, oh my god, this kid is making a on my movie or whatever. Like, I don't think Peter Jackson would be like that stingy about a project he did like 30 years ago. Especially since I'm not trying to trash it, I'm trying to expand it.
Well, you already have like 80,000 views for some of your Lego stuff with Wars. There's always hope that this will generate some kind of viewage once you actually put the first episode out.
Yeah.
Um,
As
so
far as like
go ahead and tell us what the title of the novel and the series will be.
Okay, so as of right now, unless I change it, it's going to be Meet the Feebles 2, The Prevail, which just kind of means like the prevail is just succeeding, like seeing the Feebles and 10 years later and everything, just kind of succeeding the story.
Okay.
But,
And are you done with the casting process now?
So, and I'll answer this as well because you asked this earlier. So there's roughly 39, 38 people in the production, basically just as voice actors.
And is that more than any of your other productions have ever had?
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely the biggest.
So now you can almost say that you are almost professional.
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, and this may actually put you on the map of YouTube stuff. So it's definitely going to be an interesting process seeing you go forward with this. What do you hope to accomplish in the end goal of this whole project?
So the major factor of it, just for what I want to see at least, the biggest part for me is just make a sequel that every fan would like. You know, just make a sequel to everything. Trying to like make it to where followers would enjoy it, just like me.
Well, yeah, it's all fair and well when it's put to paper, but when you actually go and put it together, sometimes it can be a painful process. Okay, oh wait, that doesn't work. Oh, I'm not sure if my audience will go for that. But the thing with Meet the Feebles, it doesn't matter how dirty you go because you could actually go as dirty as you want. So
yeah. But as far as like that goes, there I do have some little tidbits of actually the audio stuff, which I kind of was trying to save just for for this interview, which with the so have I mentioned you like the voice actor for Heidi?
You did in a little bit, but you said that well, Heidi was originally a male voice, anyways. So it's kind of cool that Heidi is a male voice this time around too. And I think going forward with the project, you'll probably feel better about going with a male voice for the lead, anyways.
Yeah. So basically, the little tidbit I have for it. So first of all, he's the top build voice actor because he voices Heidi, he voices Robert, he voices Sebastian, he voices Arthur, the big main ones. So he's like top build because of it. And so the little thing I noticed with the behind the scenes stuff of like listening through the audio, because he sent me this in all separate takes and everything for Heidi, and he worked a lot like for a long time for these. But what shocked me the most was the different tones he did, because he did 3 takes of each line. There was some lines that sounded just like Miss Piggy when he did his like 3rd take. like everything else was fine, but I was just like, what the hell is this? But the weirdest thing he sent me was he sent, and I know you might want to cut this out of the interview or not, just depending on like how your audience is about this. But he sent me 5 minutes of Heidi moaning.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that because to be honest, Heidi was a very asexual creature. I think in real life, if she was actually here in real time. So it kind of goes with the whole, Heidi, you know, history of everything.
Mhm.
So. But so when do you propose to be finished with this project, or is there an end in sight, or at least a beginning of production so far?
So as far as like the production, it's kind of like I'm making the audiobook first just so I have something out there, which is basically just a really big aspect that I'm trying. At least if I can get the audiobook, I can have something out. But as far as the animation goes, like the VR stuff, I imagine that's probably going to be in the next like a 5 year thing. To be honest, like looking at it from like a film director perspective, like this can't be done like a 1 year thing. Like this like takes a lot of time, and I have to save up money for VR headsets for stuff. But yeah, I imagine it's going to probably be like a next 3 to 5 years around that. But as far as like the end in sight, I don't think there really is one, just because there's so much you could do with Meet the Feebles. Because like it's very like I wouldn't say marketable, but it's very expansive. Where it's like I can totally do a bunch of stories and everything with the book, like just based off of what I can do with the book. But there's much more I can do with it, like making I don't know, like like Heidi having a YouTube channel or something, or Robert doing an acting channel, and like all these expansive ideas, like them living in this time now. There's so much they can do.
Mhm. Definitely, and if you script it exactly the right way, it can be expanded upon. So, um, so the audiobook book is the first thing that you're probably going to accomplish, that you said. Are you going to be doing it where as far as it's just going to be the novel read, or are you going to do it as a as you would the series, like in like a teleplay type thing? What are you gonna do there? Are you gonna do novel to audio adaptation, or are you just gonna do like an old radio type thing where you actually scripted episodes, or how are you gonna do that?
So, like, what I plan on it's the reason I got the voice actor so early. I'm planning this to be basically where the format is it has a narration, but it also has the voices for the characters on top of having like I'm going to try to commission some art pieces for the audiobook just to be like this main scene and then that's the cover, like for that chapter or whatever. But for that part, I'm trying to make it where it's a lot more of an immersive experience rather than just a regular audiobook.
Okay.
It has a lot of components. Like normal audiobooks, it's like they have one person narrating the whole thing, and it's just basically just directly from that person. But I'm wanting to make it more like, I guess you could say, pleasing to the audience of hearing like the really close voices of
Well,
the
as if it were listening to like an old radio broadcast or something like that, or
yeah. Mhm.
something like that. I mean, I remember listening to like things like "I Love a Mystery," and it had a narration and people acting, and you just have background noises to have them affect when they're stepping through a movie, or sheet metal
Yeah.
intermittent that thunder, or things of that nature. And
Yeah.
I imagine that you could do something similar to that.
Yeah, it's gonna definitely be similar, but like the only difference being it's not gonna be live. It's gonna just be all like the folly's gonna all be is all gonna be recorded separately. The voices are all separately. The even I even one of the voice actors actually for the project actually mentioned to me like, "Hey, I could do audio mixing. Do you want me to work on this project as the audio mixer?" I'm like, "Yeah, completely." Like, and he made it sound so much better as the clarity goes. But
Mhm.
like doing the audio and like I said probably in prior messages, I also have the animator who, well, blender designers, I should say, designing the models as we speak. But like in the whole scheme of things, it's a very big project.
Alrighty. Well, I appreciate your time coming on here and talking about your projects, and what you want to accomplish in the end. Thank you. And is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we go off the air here?
I would say there's one key aspect of specifically Meet the Feebles that I really want to shine here. It's the fact that like a lot of these voice actors that I did hire, they tried out, they got it, but I got to learn so much about them and like really like the payments I do for them, like it's crazy. So the voice for Heidi, he went through so much in 2020. He went through a marriage, divorce, living back with his parents. He was like in debt, and so me paying him, it made it brought up his year basically. He's like, I'm finally able to pay my debt, and like I'm finally able to like get my life situated. I'm so thankful, and just all that. I'm like, oh my god, first experience, like wow.
The fact that you can impact people on a personal level through projects is one of the things that you can carry with your journey, and seeing getting to know you through this whole process. Thank you for sharing with me some of this process too. I mean, it just seems like you're gonna be making strides in different places that you never thought knew were possible, and the people that you'll meet from here on out will probably send you into like some kind of series like Robot Chicken or something like that.
Yeah,
Just a re-evolution of it or something like that. I can see that happening for you because of seeing what you can do with your Lego stuff. And I think the fact that you have been building up to this moment, this is your time to shine, and I wish you well. So,
thank you.
but I think that's all the time for today that we have, folks. So definitely keep a lookout for Meet the Feebles, The Prevail, when it eventually comes out on audio. Hopefully we'll be able to post a link down below this interview for you once that happens, and this won't be the end of your journey here. I would like to see you go through it, and when it's all finished, I would like you to come back on the show if you're able. So,
Yeah,
um,
definitely, man.
thank you for letting me be a part of your life, and a part of seeing what you can accomplish. And I look forward to um, what you can achieve. So,
Thank you. That means a lot, man.
alrighty. Stay tuned for some more exciting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We have some very cool stuff, films that we're going to be talking about next week. One of them being Dick Tracy, and the other Road to Perdition. So stay tuned for that stuff. So thank you. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are, and thank you for listening and watching. Like, share, and subscribe.